stop missing.
Okay, so today our final story is called A Rooster Crows. Peter denies Jesus. Let's see if we know what this story is about. Okay, so let's pretend we are walking by and I stepped on Haley's foot. What would I say to her? Get out of my way. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, hello. Yes, I'm sorry, right. What are other times, or when are other times that people will say, I'm sorry to someone? When's another time you can say I'm sorry to someone? Maybe not just hurting them.
If you broke one of your parent things, you can say sorry.
So if you break something, you usually say I'm sorry. When else do you say I'm sorry to someone? Allie?
If you say something kind of mean.
When you say something and you say I'm sorry, very good. Or like when you truly are, like you spilled or you broke something, but you weren't doing it to be mean or anything like that. You were honestly just playing with it and it broke and you're like, I'm so sorry. Wouldn't that be a real sorry too, right? So when you're made to say I'm sorry, it's usually not that nice, right? But if you truly feel it, that's usually when it's a nice sorry. Okay, so how would you look if your car broke down on the way to the amusement park? Show me your face. You're going somewhere and your car broke down and you're no longer going there.
Mamma mia.
Emmy and Mackie are very good at this game. How would you look if a dog barked at you and showed its teeth? It looked like it was going to attack you. So that's a good one. Well, we didn't say it was in your neighborhood. There's a dog. All right, there's a wolf coming at you. Or a lion. You are its meal. How would you look?
I would take
A dead one.
Okay, let's get back at our seats. What if your baby brother or sister threw up on you? Or your cousin or your baby.
I'd throw up on them.
This one. What would your face be if you got caught sneaking a piece of chocolate?
Well,
Oh, you two probably really do this. So let's see what these faces look like.
I'm grabbing it.
All right. Great job.
I'm chewing
Okay.
in my mouth.
So you really know how to show your guys' emotions. The last emotion we showed was guilt. You guys kind of looked more mischievous than guilty.
Oh.
Guilt is what we feel when we realize we've done something wrong. So, today we're going to hear about something else that happened to Peter the night Jesus was arrested. So today's story is about when Jesus got arrested. So let's talk about this because we didn't do this lesson because we're doing not all 5 lessons this week. So Jesus, let's do this from our memory because we learn this story every Easter. So Joe, you better be an expert. So we are getting to the part where Jesus got arrested. So what happened before Jesus got arrested?
Were they even cops?
They were there's like soldiers or something.
Okay, so let's even go back. So everybody was in town for the Passover. So they would all go to a room. Jesus had found a room. And what did they all do in this big room together, all the disciples?
They celebrated Easter.
Passover, because Easter hadn't happened yet. Very good. And they ate and they drank. And, yes, Mackie.
Jesus said, drink this juice for
Oh,
my blood and eat this bread for my body.
very good. The first communion happened there. They had the Passover supper, and Jesus said, eat this bread in remembrance of me. And they didn't understand what he was talking about at that point. And drink this wine in remembrance, but we don't drink wine. You're right. For communion, we do juice. Okay, so Jesus and them had done the first communion, but they didn't even know that at that point. So they were all celebrating. And then Jesus had said that he knew that one of the people in the room was going to do what to him?
Put him on the cross. They'll throw him in a little put him in a room and put a rock.
He knew that somebody in that room was going to betray him. Do you remember hearing this before? Betray him or, yes. So someone in that room was going to betray him. So the party.
Well, do you guys know what betray means?
Yeah, what does betray? Betray someone means like you were on your side and then you kind of like switch sides on them.
Yeah, like talking behind someone's, like your friend's back
Yeah.
would be betrayal. Yeah.
So that's what happened. And do we remember what happened then?
He got
Do you remember what the guy's name was? Who was the bad guy? Judas. And he left the room. Okay, so we're going to go forward a little bit. So then Jesus and a couple of the disciples, not all of them, went to the Garden of Gethsemane. And in there, Jesus had asked these, and we're going to have to use our memory because I know we've talked about this a couple times. He asked his friends to pray with him that night, right? Because Jesus knew what was going to happen, correct? Jesus knew what was going on. So we're in the garden, and they're praying. And what did the disciples who were supposed to be praying with him do?
Sleep.
They fell asleep. He asked them to pray, so they were all sleeping. So Jesus comes in and says, he goes, can you stay awake, please, and pray with me? So they all start praying, and what did they do again? They fell asleep. So maybe in their defense, they did just eat a huge meal. So maybe they were full. It was in the middle of the night. But I don't know. If Jesus asked me to stay awake, I think I would have stayed awake. Just saying. So then finally Jesus comes back, and this time he tells them they have to wake up because who he could hear coming. You said it earlier. In the gardens, who were coming?
Soldiers.
Right. So the soldiers were coming to get Jesus. So that is where our story is going to start today, is when Jesus was arrested. And Peter is like Jesus' best friend. They love each other. They're almost like brothers. And do you think you would be okay watching your friend get arrested or something bad happening to your friend when they've done nothing wrong to deserve it? Let's even think about friends, like our friends, and let's think about like when other people are saying mean things about your friends and they're not true. Doesn't that hurt your feelings? And Peter, he did something kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie. He tried to hurt one of the soldiers, and he cut off their
Heads.
I remember.
ear. You remember that?
I remember when his sister had like a fake ear.
Oh yeah, when we did the acting last year at VBS. Very good. But Jesus healed it. All the things that Jesus had told them at the meal, and I didn't talk about that, sorry you guys. But Jesus had told them that all this stuff was going to happen. He was arrested, and all the disciples ran away. The disciples were worried. If Jesus could be arrested when he hadn't done anything wrong, maybe they would be arrested for just being Jesus' friend. So Peter was scared. He could not abandon his friend Jesus. So today's story, I'm going to now start. So we kind of now talked about what had happened. But we're going to go back a couple steps because Jesus at that meal had said something important. So Peter and the other disciples were joyfully celebrating a special holiday meal together. They ate good food and were talking together when finally Jesus said something that has upset his disciples, especially Peter. Jesus said, "Friends, before tonight is over, you will abandon me. You will even deny that you know me." Peter was shocked. Peter loved Jesus and was devoted to him. He couldn't imagine denying and knowing Jesus. But Jesus said to Peter, "I'm telling you the truth. Before the rooster crows this morning, you will say 3 times that you do not know me." Peter replied bravely, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you." And all the other disciples agreed. But what Jesus said would happen did happen. He was arrested. All the disciples ran away. The disciples were worried. If Jesus could be arrested when he hadn't done anything wrong, maybe he would be arrested, but they could just be arrested for being his friend. So Peter was scared, but he could not abandon Jesus. It was his best friend. So he followed the group that arrested Jesus. Peter watched as Jesus was taken into a house to be questioned. Peter waited outside that house. It was late at night and getting chilly, and Peter saw people standing by a fire, so he went to warm himself by the fire. So let's pretend we're warming ourselves by the fire. Thank you. I like when you guys act. A servant girl looked over at Peter, and she was like studying his face. Have you ever done that before? Like you're looking at someone, you're like,
Nope.
I think I know that person. Like, why do I know them? Have you ever done that, Allie? Yeah?
Yeah,
Yes.
You have done that too?
Only like when
Well, I mean, there's sometimes you're like, why do I know this person?
Well,
She studied his face. Then, in a confident voice, she said, You were with Jesus. Did Peter say, oh yeah, totally with Jesus? Did he say that?
No.
No. talking about? There's strike one. Peter was worried he would be arrested. So a little while later, someone else saw Peter and said, "Hey, you're one of those people who know Jesus, right?" So they were kind of like, And Peter was like, "Nope, I am not. No." So that was his twice.
No, if they didn't know. But if they did know that Peter wasn't from that.
But they didn't.
Strike
They were
three
just-
and you're out.
Right. They were like asking in a question like, "I think I saw you before." So then an hour passed, and then another person noticed Peter. "This man must be a follower of Jesus. They are from the same town," the person said. And Peter at this point was like, "I'm done with this." He's like, "I do not know what you're talking about."
Strike three, you're out.
So, do you know what just happened right after Peter shouted that?
The third time.
The third time?
You got arrested?
The rooster.
The rooster
Yep.
crowed.
Just like Jesus said.
And Peter, what do you think he felt at that exact moment? Guilty. Shame. He probably felt like he was going to throw up, huh? I mean, he was probably like,
Was Jesus dead?
Not
yet.
yet. Nope. Peter then remembered what Jesus said. "Before the rooster crows in the morning, you will say 3 times that you don't know me." So Peter ran outside and cried and cried. He was so sorry he had denied Jesus. Jesus then was taken to the hill, so this is going to answer your question, where he was killed on a cross, and then he was buried in a tomb. But 3 days later, Jesus rose from the dead. Peter was one of the ones that saw the empty tomb. Jesus rose from the dead. Peter even saw Jesus and talked to him several times after he rose from the tomb. Peter must have been happy and relieved Jesus was alive, but he probably still felt bad about denying Jesus when Jesus was arrested. So, now we're going to go forward a little bit.
Wait.
So let's finish our story and then we'll go find Pastor Bill. Sometime later, Peter and some friends were fishing. Is that guy funny? Peter fishing? Because, he didn't do that ever before. Oh, wait, he was a fisherman. Never mind. They had been working all night and they hadn't caught a single fish. Jesus was standing on shore, but the disciples didn't know it was him. Jesus called to them, "Friends, don't you have any fish?" "No," they answered. They were discouraged. Have you guys been discouraged before?
What's that?
What does
Well, we were
discouraged mean?
discouraged yesterday when we couldn't
When
swimming.
we couldn't swim. Jesus shouted to them, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat." So the disciples gave it a try. They threw their nets, and when they came up, they were bulging with fish. What a surprise. All those fish reminded Peter of another time. Remember our first day story?
Yeah.
When the nets were full of fish, and it was so heavy that they were breaking and it almost took the boat out. Then John yelled enthusiastically. What does enthusiastically mean?
It means like.
Super excited. Woo! It is the Lord! Peter was excited. He dove in the water to meet Jesus. So he didn't even wait for the boat to get to back shore. He jumped out and started swimming towards Jesus. The other disciples were a little bit smarter. They stayed in the boat and took the boat to shore. When they got to shore, Jesus was waiting by the fire with a breakfast of fish ready for them. After breakfast, Jesus and Peter walked together. Jesus wanted Peter to know that he was forgiven. "Peter, do you love me?" Jesus asked. Peter was glad to be able to tell Jesus, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." So Jesus said a very strange thing back to him. "Feed my sheep." And he said it 3 times. Jesus meant that Peter was to help his followers know more about God's love. Jesus never gave up on Peter. He forgave him and gave him a fresh start to do a very important job. Jesus is ready to forgive us when we do wrong too. Jesus' forgiveness is as reliable as a big, strong rock. We can know for certain that Jesus loves us, even when we do wrong things. Psalms 86:5 says, "You are forgiving and good, O Lord." We have all done things that we need to ask forgiveness for. We can tell those things to Jesus and ask him to forgive us and ask for help to not do those things again. When we ask Jesus for his forgiveness, Jesus forgives us and gives us a fresh start as members of his family.